Alright, so we're back. We're ready to install the intake manifold onto the engine. And as you can see, we've got these valves here that attach to the bottom of the intake manifold to this bracket, and then there's another one here. So we have to put those on. And we've also got an attachment point here under the on this bracket, and then we've got the throttle body electrical plug here. So we're gonna go ahead and set this down into place. Put this down here far enough where we can get the attach that one. And we'll attach this one under here. And then there's a hose that we have to reconnect in the back. I'll push that on, and just snaps into place. It's kind of hard to see. Now that we got those in place, we can take the throttle body and we can plug it in back here. I won't forget about that. And then we want to take this wire here and we want to plug it into this attachment point down here in the bottom. It's kind of hard to see, so get my camera here so I can show you what I'm doing. Alright, so we attached this valve here to the bracket, and we attach this valve down here to the bracket, and we've plugged the throttle body in right here where my finger's pointing. And of course we want to put this attachment point right here. We want to attach that wire back so it doesn't fall down on something. Alright, so we got that attached there. Now we are, I believe, ready to actually attach the manifold. So let me put this camera back up here. It's always a challenge to remember how everything goes back on, especially if it's been a long time since you took it apart. Like it's been almost a month since since I've taken this apart. So we've got 5 nuts that we're going to put on. And then we'll torque those down, and we'll be right back. Alright, hello and welcome back. As you can see, we're getting ready to start working on and putting the exhaust system back together. I've already put a new O-ring on here. I've already got the exhaust manifold gasket. It's a 3-layer metal gasket. It is reusable. You can reuse it. And then now we're going to slide the manifold on there, and first we'll start out by getting the nuts on there. We got these brackets right here. I don't know if you can see them. These brackets right here that go on the exhaust manifold before you put the exhaust manifold nuts on. So we're gonna slide this in here. Alright, so now we've got the turbocharger on. Before we get too excited getting it on there, we want to make sure that we've got our oil line and coolant lines in place. So slide this back out a little bit. Here we got the oil line that's hooked under there. Alright, there we go. So that goes there. Take this retaining bolt out that holds the coolant line in place. And we'll slide the manifold up in place. There we go. Got our oil line generally in place. Alright, now we got to put these little support brackets on here. Reach around underneath here and put those in place. It's kind of hard to see. Well, we've got them all in place now. So now we'll go ahead and start putting these exhaust manifold nuts back on. Alright. And then we got 3 of them that we're going to need an extension and a socket to get down in there. These bolts are 11 millimeters, so oil line is in the way down here. I'm going to move that. I'm going to wait for just a second. Get my ratchet in here. Okay. And we got the one on the bottom. There. And we got one more. but maybe when you get that one on. We got that one on. Now we're gonna go around, tighten these down. The specification is 18.5 foot-pounds, and what I like to do, I like to torque from the center out. So we'll torque the center bolts first. Then it doesn't matter. You can go to this side or this side. Doesn't matter. Just once you go around once, just go back around one more time. Make sure that the specification is there, 18.5 foot-pounds, and then we'll be ready to start connecting all these lines and working on connecting the downpipe. And we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. All right. Well, welcome back. So far I've got the turbocharger and the manifold back on. I got my coolant lines reconnected, both of them here. Reconnected the oil return line here and the oil feed line up here. Just a note, I've changed this one out. If yours still has the original factory stock formed steel like this, this would be a good time if you were thinking about putting the braided stainless steel line on. This would be a good time to go ahead and do that. While you've got everything apart, it'd be a lot easier to change out. Probably the most difficult part was putting this oil return line on the bottom, this bolt. When I was trying to screw it back on there, it's got to be lined up just right in order to get that bolt to be able to start. And it took me a little while to get that thing started, but I finally got it in. And the coolant lines, banjo bolts here get torqued down to 25 foot-pounds. This gets torqued down to 22 foot-pounds. The oil in line, oil feed line, and then your oil return line is like 168 inch-pounds, I believe. I'll double check that. Then I went ahead and put, I don't know if you can see it down here, but down at the bottom, I went ahead and put the part of the heat shield that goes up against the engine in, and then I put the bracket that supports the turbocharger that bolts to the engine and it bolts to the bottom of the turbocharger. That's all installed. And I went ahead and replaced this gasket here on the end. Now I'm ready to put the downpipe in, and what I've learned from experience, having taken this out before, is that you basically have to fit it in loose. You go ahead and you put the pipe on up here, just start the nuts here, leave it loose, and crawl underneath, and you get the brackets that bolt to the side of the engine, and fit everything up loose. And then once you get everything fit up loose, then you go ahead and tighten this down, and then you tighten the part down at the bottom. And then once you tighten all that down, then you can go ahead and hook up the flexible pipe to the end of your downpipe, and then the exhaust to be done. And then it'll be just a matter of going ahead and taking this out of service position and putting everything back together, and we'll see if this sucker will start up and run. So whenever we get back, we'll review this process and we'll see where we go from there. So I'll be right back. Alright, well, we're back. We got everything loose fit, and according to the specification, these catalytic converter these downpipe bolts, they're 13 millimeter, and they're tightened down in 2 steps. Okay, we're going to run those down, finger tight. Remember, everything's still loose at the bottom. I just put the brackets in place, but I didn't tighten them down. They're just down there loose. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run this down. And that oil return line bolt that I was talking about, I thought it was 168 inch-pounds. It's not, it's 71 inch-pounds. So it was a little off on that one. So, but all that stuff is in your Chilton's or your Bentley. So always make sure you reference that before you get ready to tighten all your bolts down. Now these are a 2-step tighten down right here. these catalytic converter bolts. The first step is 62 inch-pounds, and then the second step is 30 foot-pounds. So I'm going to run these down here real quick. Now I have to set my torque gauge up to 62 inch-pounds. I'll double check that. Alright, got those just barely snug down. The first step is 62 inch-pounds, so put my gauge on here, set it to inch-pounds, and then turn it down to 62. Alright. So now we'll it doesn't take much to get it down to the 62 inch-pounds. Alright, so now we'll turn around and set it to foot-pounds. Turn it up to 30. And we'll tighten that down, each one of them down to 30 foot-pounds. Alright. Alright, it's 30. Same thing with this one. Alright, 30 foot-pounds. Now I'll crawl under there and tighten all the attached fasteners down there, and the lower mounting fasteners are tightened down to 15 foot-pounds. Those are the ones that attach both the engine and the catalytic converter, so I'll crawl down there and tighten those up. And the clamp that holds the downpipe to the flex pipe, that one's 18 foot-pounds, so we'll take care of those fasteners and then we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see here, made a little bit more progress on here. We got these heat shields put on, which are kind of a pain to put on, but you got to put these on before you can put this upper oxygen sensor on. And we got this put on, got our coil packs and everything in. Went ahead and set my intake in place, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up, hook up the wires to it, and connect it there. And then I'll be just about ready to push this thing back in from the service position and start putting everything else back on. I've already got the crank shaft pulley and the belt and all that stuff on. If you want to see how we did that, just that's on part 2 of the timing chain replacement. And then once we get done with that, we'll be ready to slide this back into where it goes. Everything down here is all tightened down, and then we'll go ahead and remount the pipe that goes here and the pipe that goes right here, and we'll be ready to start putting this thing together, and hopefully in just a little bit we'll be ready to fire this thing up and get it running. So we'll be right back. Alright, well, we're back. And at this point here, we've reinstalled this pipe right here and bolted it to the front subframe, and we've removed the bolts and taken it out of the service position, and we're going to bolt everything back up, put the subframe bolts back in, and then everything else is just reverse of the way we took it apart. If you need to, just go back and look at the first video on how to take everything apart, and everything else went back together as it should. So barring any other issues that I run into, I'll go ahead and finish this up, and then when we get done, I'll bring the video back and we'll try to start this thing up and see if it's going to run. So once we get everything put back together, we'll be right back.